My name is Liam Schofield. I am someone who was justice involved. I am a reentry nonprofit advocate and a college student. What does probation and justice reform mean to me? As somebody who was justice involved and also works for a nonprofit that helps those still on probation, technical violations can be the biggest impediment or hurdle for probationers to navigate. When I was on probation, my probation was extended due to reinstatements repeatedly over the course of what amounted to 9 years, having to do entirely with special conditions. Things, in my case, like crossing state lines to do a snow removal job, things having to do with who I could have contact with, in some cases my own mother. A lot of different things that there wasn't really an interest in talking through with the probation officer or the judge. And in my work with reentry, I've discovered that this is common. And even after the meaningful and important reforms of last year, we still work with so many clients and their families who are continuing to be hammered by unrealistic and unfair special conditions. So when we're working with our clients, a lot of what we see is the incredible mental stress that they're under from the constant and never-ending onslaught of special conditions on the part of probation, while they're also trying to have meaningful employment, get a job, a trade, stable housing. They're trying to kind of juggle plates. And probation, in my experience and what I've seen and my colleagues have seen, tends to have very little empathy or patience. We see scenarios like a 72-year-old client that we work with who, despite having documented health issues, was told to be at a specific group at a specific time. And despite being able to prove he couldn't make or comply with that due to medical, was told to go to a graduated sanction at the Smyrna Violation of Probation Center. Now, ostensibly, this is in keeping with the justice reform laws of last year, which directed probation to use graduated sanctions instead of incarceration. However, in this individual's case, there was no need for a graduated sanction as they didn't comply due to a medical situation. And then they further advised their probation officer that they didn't have a way to get down there. It was freezing cold, they were elderly, and probation also advised them you can't bring a phone or a wallet or anything when you're there due to the rules of SFOP. Ultimately, a friend was able to bring him down, but he still didn't have a way to get back to Newcastle County. And through the work of our reentry network and friends and support systems, he was able to comply with this directive. But this is one case of many. And sometimes even when we try and assist our clients, probation still finds ways to throw up hurdles and make it so that it's still difficult for them to be successful. When they go in front of a judge, what I've seen firsthand, what I've lived, is then there's a narrative of how the person is flagrantly defiant, combative, non-compliant, doesn't want to do probation, and that's simply not the case. The case is that 9 times out of 10, probation has set a standard that's very difficult to be compliant with, and they know this. Support probation reform to make our communities healthier and safer. Together we can rethink reentry and reform Delaware's probation system for the better.